So this is an artist called Rex Turnbull, and it's called The Lane, this painting. And it's a bit of a bridge between the two that we've already looked at, John's painting, and John Bockel and Ian Grant. A bridge in that we've got, again, an urban subject, but here a much more, I suppose you could say, realistic, even photorealistic treatment of it. I really like this painting because unlike many paintings that are done from photographs, I feel that he's not really limited to the information that the photograph is giving him. He's using it as an excuse, or not as an excuse, but a starting point to make a satisfying paint structure. Some people use photos just out of convenience. They can't set up in that lane, so they'll take a photo and work from that because it's the most convenient means of doing so. But I don't know, here it's been invested with a real care for light relationships and a simplification as well, because although it is a fairly simple kind of subject, flat walls, open space, I think that the way that he's used these browns to kind of draw you into an overall sense of darkness and then let the light slice in from one side against this beautiful yellow, which appears more beautiful because of this kind of apricot colour next to it. It's actually really sensitively rethought in terms of paint and colour. I don't know what the photograph was telling him. I mean, it may well be that that was more of a kind of a grey yellow, not a particularly attractive colour, not a colour that really did much next to that yellow. So there's a whole lot of decisions that are being made in this painting from, I imagine it's from a photograph, but improving on or making a real painting out of it. That quietness, again, I suppose I'm being drawn with this one and Ian Grant's to that sense of solitude and a kind of the enjoyment of solitude. I mean, we've all seen a back lane like this. It's not that it's a remarkable thing, but just that sense of appreciating even that small, the beauty of the light, even if not the beauty of the environment. That's what I get from this painting. I will move on now to Wendy MacDonald, who's just here, so we may as well stay where we are. But this is branching out towards abstraction, which is the next main tradition that I want to introduce. Abstraction was obviously a huge theme in 20th century art. And this painting, although it's quite a humble painting, it's a small scale subject, it's not looking at a huge panorama, it's really focused in almost on what feels like a fragment of a bigger reality. But I'm really drawn to it for the beauty of colour, which goes further, I think, than any of the ones I've talked about so far towards going to a full palette. And it's a palette that's built upon the relationship of two complementary colours, yellow and violet. Complementary meaning that if you laid the colours out on a colour wheel, they're the colours that are most distant from each other. They're opposites. And so when placed next to each other, they really kind of jump. They make a strong dynamic colour effect. Yellow and purple are notoriously difficult to use because they're quite jarring. If you think of a really dark purple and a really cold yellow, they're not the most attractive colours next to each other. And most of the successful paintings that I've seen using that contrast get away with it by lightening the purple down to a violet, which we see here, bringing in a bit of purer blue, which you see up at the top of the picture, and getting the proportions of the yellow to the purple right so that they actually seem to be in equilibrium rather than sort of tipping each other over. I like the way that this painter, Wendy MacDonald, is actually just kind of painted things out and let us see the painting out. It's not a particularly carefully, well there is care in it, but it's not the kind of care you would get from Rex Turnbull. It's saying, I'm going to use a brush, I might even use quite a rough brush, and I'm going to try to find interest, try to use that in a way that doesn't deny the fact that this is paint on a surface. So yeah, I find that quite an attractive painting. But in terms of what it's actually adding to the tradition of abstraction, I feel like I'm probably looking, and I don't know here, I could be saying the wrong thing, but I feel like it's probably a younger artist who's probably finding a foundation. I could be wrong about that. Yeah? She is? Yeah. Because it's got a sensibility, as we say. It has real talent and a real feel for the aesthetic possibilities of painting. But at this stage, it feels like it's just she's finding a way towards a language. And I'm always excited by that, because what I was talking about before, I started looking at these works with, you know, how you've got to kind of find your own grounding. That's what I'm seeing here. She's actually going into that rather than taking easier options that you could take.